Alright. How's it going, Spice? That's a very weird way to introduce yourself, but yeah, welcome. We're doing one of them podcast-like live streams today for multiple reasons. One, I'm short people. We are short people. So I am people. That is a live stream. Totally professional looking podcast like live stream. Give it a moment for, like, I don't know, anybody to like join and go, what the fuck is happening by looking at this, and I think it should be okay. But yes, it is a little bit past 1 now. It's like, yeah. By the way, that's a live UE, so I can change the lighting and stuff. But yes, it is 1 p.m. or a little bit after 1 p.m. Welcome, Alpha. And this is the first and probably last, depending on how it goes, Can Team live stream, hosted by yours truly, anime fan RK2K of the Can Team, who shows up to, like, you know, Sunday live streams like once a month at that now, due to busyness. And I decided to take the time off my quote-unquote busy schedule, which actually been me a lot of figuring out how to edit a 27 gig 24-hour video, instead to do this. And what this is it's going to be the first ever and maybe last ever, depending on the reaction, Can Team podcast live stream, so to speak. It is a real video footage that is me live with the most professional looking setup, which is just like a bunch of game cases behind my back and my iPad as my table desk. Don't worry, the notes are further down it, that's why you can't see it. I have it set up next to the camera. But yeah, this is real UE footage. 100%. That is not a video. I could very well fall down at any time during the live stream. It's actually kind of nerve-wracking, so don't breathe too hard, guys. With that said, I wanted to talk about the Hyperdimension Neptunia franchise, and I wanted to do so before the 10 minutes of Nepstation theme I have going disappears. And basically, Hyperdimension Neptunia was the very first game on the PS3. I actually have the game case to the very right of my live stream screen right there. Essentially, if you guys know us, you probably know that at one point or another, everyone on the Can Team has played a Neptunia game, if not most of the Neptunia games that are out. So I thought it'd be very interesting if we, you know, to do a podcast where we talk about the game franchise as a whole, and kind of like, you know, the greater Neptunia franchise in general. So I figured a good starting point would be talking about the games. This is going to be very informal. I actually don't know what a podcast is, and I might be only doing this because Tom, it's okay. Right now I'm on regular OBS. I'm having super sound problems. I'm not sure if I'd be able to get you to join without like breaking my my temporary sound system on OBS to do this Can live stream. You bought Rebirth once and you never played them twice. Well, you know that happens. So I'm gonna dive right into like talking about the first game. But Tom, if you do want to like join in comments and stuff, feel free to participate. You know, offer your thoughts. And you know, that's not only to Tom just because he's a Can Team member. That's to everybody who's here. Planning getting Rebirth 3? Oh, that's cool. Alright, so just for starters, I'm gonna actually play. I'm actually going to quickly end that to play the songs from the original Hyperdimension Neptunia, because they are music that is completely different from what you guys know of the Neptunia franchise of games. Neptunia franchise has some key songs that are seen throughout its gameplay. Do you see a playthrough of the others? Awesome. But the Hyperdimension Neptunia itself differs greatly from like Mark II and beyond. The story premise is about similar, but this is before all the characters got basically memed out into what they are. It's actually what got a bunch of us into playing the Neptunia franchise, was the original Hyperdimension Neptunia. Mark II and Victory, however, drew in more and more people. By the time Mark II came out, like a ton more people were playing it and became a cult following, even in the West. And I think Victory just cemented the fact that we would never have a Neptunia game where we could never agree with like Neptunia games having consistent characterizations and consistent storyline. Okay, so that's something I want to talk about. The entire Neptunia franchise is lacking in terms of consistency. Some of the games people are going to tell you, oh, this is the best game ever. And other games, they're going to tell you, wow, this is crap. This is utterly garbage. So, you know, like, it goes up and down. Yo, how's it going, Vanitas? With that said, like, just to talk about Hyperdimension Neptunia, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and Victory on the PS3, it's like 3 games that don't feel that cohesive. Like, you have the original Hyperdimension Neptunia, which has its own premise, its own, like, bookend, like, start and over ending. And, you know, and so, like, you know, that's one of the games. It had very high grinding curves, where in between, like, some even sometimes within some sections of the game, of, like, the same, like, story cutscene to next story cutscenes, you had to grind, like, 5 levels in some places. Like, it wasn't paced very well. It wasn't difficult. It's just stats really mattered. So, grinding really helped. In the original Hyperdimension. Mark II was a little bit less so, but the original 3 are darker than the remakes. For 1 and 2, I would say so, but I think, and I'll get to this when I talk about the Rebirth series, but I would say for yes, but definitely for the original one, like the remake. But Rebirth 1 does so much else that, like, I can't say yes, the original is darker without touching on the improvements that Rebirth 1 made on the original that made it accessible and made it probably even more well known to other people. So I'm gonna say yes, but caveat. Mark II came out, and Mark II was the one I really started on, because I saw the box art for Hyperdimension Neptunia, and I saw Mark II. Yeah, it's only me today, Venice. Although Tom would have been able to join, but my sound setup right now, considering I had to get a webcam going and everything, was really bad. So, like, I can't just have people join in on a conversation. Like, I had to redo my sound volumes and stuff. Like, it's like I went through a lot. So I'm live. Like, for example, like, what's playing right now is Last Station's theme from the original Hyperdimension Neptunia. And Last Station will come Mark II and on, has their own set theme that you'll hear throughout the rest of the games going forward. Because it went from being a single game that I basically, like, a bunch of people, like, did, kind of as a meme. They're like, yeah, let's all chip in and make this game. And then the game actually sold well enough that they decided, oh, I guess we're gonna make more. And so they made Mark II, which in Mark II, just so you guys know, right away, Mark II has its own retcon, where they introduce Netgear, Neptune's CPU candidate, little sister, where they introduce the CPU candidates, where they talk about the fact that in the first game, the CPU's lost to Magic the Heart, CFW Magic. So there was like this hard retcon, like at the very beginning of Mark II, to kind of change your expectations on what Mark II was going to give you. And like since they've been trying to keep it more quote-unquote consistent with story, Victory is a thing that happened. And Victory is weird because like I think a lot of people's, like, if you're a PS3 player who played Neptunia games, a lot of people's first experiences for the Neptunia franchise, I think Mark II and Victory were the big sellers. So, like, you had no idea what you're getting into at that point, because Mark II has a retcon right in the beginning. Victory, you have the Ultra Dimension story arc where you meet Plutia and Pishi, and you have alternate versions of the majority of your cast. So that's kind of like weird. So I have no idea like how people. At that point, I would assume that it was like a combination of it's a meme plus you know, it has solid JRPG elements to it that made people play it. And then when they announced Rebirth 1 for the PS Vita, which is the version you're getting re-released on basically everything else now, Rebirth 1 did a ton of good to the franchise, I would say. Like I'll be the first one. I'll be the first one to say it, and I might be the one to say it forever. But Rebirth 1, my opinion, better game than the original Hyperdimension Neptunia. 10 out of 10. Like it's just a great entry into the franchise. So you know, and I think that's a good thing. Like, it made it accessible. Obviously, you can buy Rebirth 1 on Steam now, on PS Vita. You can buy it on. It's going to be eventually available on like the Switch, PS, other PlayStation, I guess. I'm not sure. I bought two versions of it. Okay, I bought the PSP one, PS Vita one, and I bought the Steam version. So those are the ones I know exist. But yeah, like the Rebirth 1 series of games, they're remakes of the original three, because the PS3 versions are not the most, what's the word I don't say they're not the best versions, because I still prefer like Mark II over Rebirth 2, but they're the like Hyperdimension Neptunia especially. It's the equivalent of like a game that a lot of people contributed to and they weren't sure where they're going to do with it, where they're going to go, or they weren't even sure if they're going to make a sequel for it. And then the game sold well enough that it warranted one from Idea Factory Compile Arts Eyes, and they went on to make a franchise. They lost a few people who contributed to it on the way, and gained new ones, or regained some old ones in the case of like in some of it. So Rebirth 1 is interesting because of that. First one reason is like they got to revisit the first game, going, all right, we now have all these established characters. We have like these established storylines, and we have things working the way they do. How can we make Rebirth 1 work better? And they redid the combat system. They rebalanced the game's progression. Like you don't feel like you're grinding 5 levels in between like one story segment to the next because you have to. I mean, you still can. They brought some clarity into like the going ons of the game, so you're not like entering a stupid high level dungeon and going, oh, oops, I'm dead. I didn't save as much. So that's like Rebirth 1 did very good in that regard. Like it's quote unquote lighter in tone, but I think the objectives of the games have changed. From the experimentation that Idea Factory Compile Hard had on initial releases of a lot of these games, and that's why they changed. It's not that it's not like they changed, like, they had like established theme music now for each of the nations. They had like they had the songs that you will find in every Neptunia game at this point now, in terms of like combat and stuff. You'll have the same virtual forest stage now for forever at this point, and trust me, it's like in every freaking game now. So so basically, like, now that they knew what the Neptunia franchise was, that's why when they went and made Rebirth 1, the remake of the original Hyperdimension Neptunia, it's a great game. It feels like a great game. It feels like everything is done with more intention. And you know what? Even in the remake, because it's still its own storyline. It's not a part of the Hyperdimension going on lore from like Mark II / Rebirth 2 on. If you could tell, like, it still has that, it has a nice, excellent, like, story, like fairy tale bookend ending. Which, by the way, if you guys don't think I'm not gonna spout spoilers, this is meant as a kind of like, we're talking about the franchise. There's gonna be spoilers, but like, like R4 reforms at the end of Rebirth 1. And becomes human again, so to speak, and that's different from the original. But like Neptune's now this established character that goes for that, like, she wants a true ending, and she wants a true ending where everyone, is happy together, and that's true throughout all the games. Like, as silly as Neptune is as a character, it's because her silliness stems from the fact that she wants. That's what she wants. That's the thing. In Neptunia V and V2R, when you see her dream scenario, it's just her being happy with the people of Planetoon, because Neptune acts like a simpleton, but it's because that's the type of life she wants, not only for herself but for her people. She wants a land of peace, basically. So like, she might, like, some people say, oh, she's annoying and obnoxious, but realistically, like, she tries to be as lighthearted as possible, because she wants everyone to be kind of like on the same page like that. Everyone wants everyone to be carefree and happy with one another. So it's actually very interesting, because they brought that aspect out a lot in Rebirth 1, I think, better than they did in the original. And you're listening to the original Hyperdimension Neptunia music right now, as I said, and it does not sound like this the type of game that's like, yeah, because at first it's like, it's about the console wars, they personified the consoles. What? And then people went and played it. But now that now that Rebirth 1 was a thing that people wanted, like, a lot of people actually wanted. They wanted, like, some way to get their hands on Hyperdimension Neptunia. And then Ideal Factory Combat was like, we're just going to re-release the first game. Remake it. And the remake is great. They have the remake system, which is controversial. But, for the most part, as much as I make fun of the remake system, and a ton of people do, I will say, it's an improvement. It's definitely an improvement to what we had. So, like, anybody who complains about it, you have to know, like, that is the best version of the game. It's not just it's not like, oh, we add these mechanics willy-nilly. It's like, no, the mechanics in the first game were basically kind of bad at some aspects of it. So they're like, we're going to redo the entire game's battle mechanics and menuing and leveling and, like, other things based off of the fact that we have the Victories version of that game. They did a very good job in that regard. So I have no problems with that. In terms of, like, storyline and lore and everything, I could probably spend, like, the next hour talking about the Neptunia franchise's storyline if I wanted to. Because there's many games, there's many remakes, there's spin-offs, etc., etc., etc. Just know that, like, from a me standpoint, to kind of like make sense of it all, I just assume that. How do I do this? What do I do? Like, basically, I assume that, like, every game, like, just play as a standalone. You can worry about how it fits in with the other games later. Obviously, Victory is made out to be Victory / Rebirth 3 is made out to be a direct sequel to the preceding game for it. In case of Victory on the PS3 to the Mark II. In case of Rebirth 3 to Rebirth 2 on others outside of PS3. So, you know, just assume that, you know, try to play, you know, like, I'm not going to tell you, like, oh, you have to play one game over the other to make sense of it. Because realistically, I think all of the games, more or less, all the main entry games, like the main canon games, which are like Hyperdimension 1, Mark II, Victory, Rebirth 1, Rebirth 2, Rebirth 3, Hyperdimension Neptunia, Mega Dimension Neptunia V2, and V2R. They all do a good job of kind of introducing you into the game's story and game's lore. So, in that regard, I think they did a good job of that. So, you know, I would say, like, I know I saw a few people were like, oh, I've never played some of these games. I'm like, and it's fine. Like, you could choose any of them and then pick them up and play. With that said, I think that there is a bigger problem when it comes to the spin-offs. Because some of the spin-offs are just completely, like, bad. Like, in terms of storyline. Like, and gameplay might be good, but if the story makes no sense, like, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, how would you play, like, for example, Neptunia U Action Unleashed, which I think is one of the worst, offenders of it, and go, yeah, the game's weird, and, like, everyone's getting stripped, and this makes no sense. You know, without also going, well, one of the people behind the action RPG elements of it were, I believe, Marvelous, who made the Senran Kagura series. So, like, getting girls stripped down is what they do. Like, Marvelous AQL is not shy about showing off the goods. With that said, Neptunia U Action Unleashed is kind of a terrible entry in the spin-off games. And, like, you know, like, the series has a ton of games now. Like, I believe there's 13 Neptunia games. Let's count it. Let's see. Hyperdimension Neptunia 1, 2, and 3. You have Rebirth 1, 2, and 3. You have Victory. Not Victory. You have Mega Dimension V2. Yeah, there's a lot of spin-offs. You have V2R. And that's 8 main entry games. Then you have Producing Perfection, Neptunia U Action Unleashed to make 10. Then you have Mega Tag Mention, Blonde Neptune versus Zombies. You have Cyber Dimension for Goddess Online. You have Super Neptunia RPG, which is not out in the States yet, coming out later this year, but out in Japan. You have Hyper Dimension Wars, which is Neptune versus Sega Hard Girls game, and you also have I think there's like one more I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, you have Ultra. You have the Noir game, the Ultra, the one that's set in Common Kid. So that's at least 15 games. I mean, like, and yes, I own all of them, but you don't have to own all of them. You don't even have to play all of them. If you ever want, and you know, like, if you ask my opinion, like, I could definitely, I'll tell you, like, which games I like and which games I don't. Like, I will say that, ultimately, you know what I'm gonna say is, if you don't have to play the spin-offs, and this is gonna sound weird, really weird, because some of my favorite games are the spin-offs, but if you don't have to play the spin-offs, don't play them. You can literally get away with playing Rebirth 1, 2, 3, Mega Dimension Neptunia V2, and then you'd be invested enough in the Neptunia franchise that you'll be like, oh yeah, I totally want to watch the anime now and stuff. Which, oh yeah, the anime is its own thing. That, you know, it was short. I think it did an okay job. It's not terrible for a game anime, which is not saying that much, I guess, because there's some really good ones and there's some really bad ones. The Persona franchise, for example, has a very good Persona 4 the animation and a very bad Persona 5 the animation. So, like, you know, like you could go really good and really bad, and I think Neptunia did a very good middle ground for their anime. They try to introduce like the elements they had in Mark II and Victory into one anime series, and it wasn't that bad. Yeah, basically, yeah, it's basically like take the elements of storylines from 2 and 3 and put it into 1, and that's what you get for the anime. And you know, it's an okay anime, like you know, so that's not a bad thing. I would say, like, they did all right. Like, you know, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, this is the best anime of all time, go watch it. I'm an anime fan after all. You know, I have standards, but no, I'd say they did a good job of just covering enough of 2 and 3 to make it feel like its own Neptunia standalone. And you know, the voice acting's great. You know, we can't complain about that. Voice acting was really good, and so, you know, that's that. Like, the Neptunia anime did a great job of being an anime adaptation of a Neptunia series, for the Neptunia series. I really wish they would make another one. I want to see a kind of like a more full-length adaptation of like the V2/V2R storyline. Specifically the V2. I think the V2R it's okay as a standalone, you know, VR thing. Like, but like a Neptunia V2 anime would be amazing, in my opinion, if they did it correctly. If they did like a 24 episoder where it's like where you have like hell, if they did a 12 episoder on just the first third of V2, that would be amazing. You know what? I'm gonna go out and say that, because the V2/V2R game is essentially divided into 3 major story arcs. They have the first one, which is, I believe, called like Chaos End of the World, something like that. Oh my goodness, I can't remember. It's been so long. I even played the remakes. It's been so long, man. I can't remember. But yeah, no, the V2 game is basically divided up to 3 major story arcs. They have the one where Neptune and Neptune meet Uzume in the 0 dimension. Oh yeah, I think that's called like Mega Dimension Neptunia Z. But they meet her in the 0 dimension. Then they have the Golden Age with the Gold Third as the second main story arc, and then they have the Heart Dimension one as the final one. I think it would make a very nice, like, you know, it might make a very nice 3 anime series, and I think Compound Idea Factory should get on that, because I would totally watch it and buy the Blu-rays when they came out on top of that, because I bought the Hyperdimension Neptunia Blu-ray box set, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, they did a good job, good enough for me to spend my money on it, so I'm buying it. They did. So I own it on Blu-ray. That's besides the point. Yeah, like I think, yeah, if they ever release another Neptunia anime, I wanted to kind of take the more seriousness of the V2 into it, and I think it'd be really good if they did. Yeah. So that's that. You know, that's that. There isn't that much more I want to say about the Neptunia anime other than that, like, because you know it's average. It's average. Like You know, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's the best thing ever. I'm like, if you like the Neptunia franchise, you'll like the Neptunia anime. It's basically what it comes down to. Unlike the games, because oh my god, let's talk about the games. Let's go back to talking about games. So there are, I think, equal amounts of spin-offs as there are main entry games now. And that's including Hyperdimension Neptunia Mark II Victory and Rebirth 1, 2, and 3. And both versions of V2, V2 and V2R. 8 of them. I think there must be at least 8 spin-offs, if not more, for the Neptunia franchise. I'm going to quickly look up the list of them because that is not what I wanted to look up, Google. There you go. All right, yeah, I'm gonna have a list of the shortly. All right, yeah, I got a list. Thank you, Wikipedia. Still waiting for the next main game. You know what? I agree. Like, I do want to see more of the Neptunia games. I think there will be more because there are the Super Dimension Neptunia. Super Neptunia RPG is a thing that will be coming out later this year. I already have my pre-order for the Nintendo Switch. I will be doing live streams of that once it comes out, guaranteed. But yeah, let's see. Hyperdimension Neptunia Mark II Victory, then Producing Perfection and Rebirth came out. Then we have Rebirth 2 Citrus Generation, Hyper Devotion Noir Goddess Blackheart, Hyperdimension Neptunia U Action Unleashed, Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 3 V Generation. Then you have Mega Dimension Neptunia V2, Mega Tag Mansion Blonde and Neptune vs. Zombies, Super Dimension Neptune vs. Sega Heart Girls. Then you have Cyber Dimension Neptunia 4 Goddesses Online. 2016 had no NEP release, guys. NEP Connect Chaos Champuru, which none of us will basically be playing unless we speak Japanese. Mega Dimension Neptunia V2R is after that, and then I guess because it hasn't come out yet, 2019 will have for us Super Neptunia RPG. So essentially, since 2010, there's been a Neptunia release every year. And here's the real thing. Is that a good thing? I think the answer is no. But they released like Neptune, Neptunia Mark II, and Neptunia Victory like year. Like they all came out like within 1 year, in like a year. Like Neptunia came out 2010, Mark II came out 2011, Neptunia Victory came out 2012. Like they're all like basically one after the other, you know? And that's insane. Like because like you know, we take for granted the fact that games take time to make. Because look at when they released V2. 2015 is when they released V2, which is 3 years after Victory. And in between, they made Producing Perfection, Rebirth 1, Rebirth 2, Hyper Devotion Noir Goddess Blackheart, Neptunia U Action Unleashed, and Rebirth 3. So they did 6 games, granted 3 of them remakes, but 6 games in 3 years before they released Neptunia V2, which had 2 other Neptunia releases that same year. So that's an insane amount of output. I feel that Idea Factory Compound Art is kind of like riding a meme wave, like just basically accelerating out Neptunia games so that people keep playing Neptunia games, which is a good and bad thing. Like it's good for us because if like say like the only game franchise you play is the Neptunia franchise, which I don't judge. If you say that's the only game you're playing, the only franchise you're playing, you know, I don't judge. You know, that's all you. That's you time. I'm not gonna criticize you one way or another. I love the Neptunia franchise, and you know, even the bad ones of the list, I do own them. So, you know, what's that say about me? But like, they released like Producing Perfection and Rebirth 1. I'm like, okay, the remake of the first game, I understand it's a remake. Why did we get Producing Perfection? And I'm not saying, you know what, honestly, when it comes down to it, it's not that it's a bad game, it's just not a good one. It's definitely a game where you're like, alright, I like Neptunia, this was alright, I'm never gonna play it again. Like, you put it down, it's done. You know, it's got its like 5 hours of fame and it's gone. You know, Rebirth 1, I said before, I think it's the and I'll now iterate now because I didn't really talk about the Rebirth series since, even though I said I was going to. Rebirth 1 is the best remake of the 3. I feel like it's the only one that really needed it or deserved it. I felt that Sister's Generation, Rebirth 2, had a lot of cop-outs to it. And they didn't make the grind to get all the endings easier in Rebirth 2, which is what I would have hoped, that they streamlined the completing process of it. Then I would not be as annoyed by it, but they didn't. Like completing the game still requires you to play through it like 4 times, I think, at least. And I think that's obnoxious. Like, I really love Mark II though, because it has one of my favorite endings. But then which is the Conquest ending. For anybody who doesn't know, the Conquest ending meme starts with me. I am the person who, I am the reason why we have Conquest ending songs in the can deck for Cards Against Neptunia. Because I single-handedly am the one that will tell you. I'm the one that will tell you that I like the Conquest ending. Adds a lot of character that you get to know the characters better than like, you know, than if that didn't exist. I think it fleshes out more Vert. It makes Vert a very likable character in the sense of how honorable she is, especially and how badass she is in her Conquest ending demise, where she single-handedly where like in the story lore, and you get to have a boss fight with it, she single-handedly stands up to your entire party of characters to the point where she fights into unconsciousness and is still fighting you guys off, so you guys have to give up because she's so tenacious, she refuses to go down. Also has Nepgear murdering somebody in cold blood because of that. Because shortly after that fight, Vert gets attacked by Underling, and Vert is literally dying at this point. So Nepgear finishes the job to end the suffering and kills Underling in cold blood. So, oh shoot, that got dark. Rebirth 2 has a Conquest ending in it. Like, don't get me wrong, it still has that ending in it, but they have a cop-out ending, which I think is called the Holy Sword ending, and it's just, you know, it's shit. Also, shout outs to everybody who got a Steam version of it and got it working, because the number of people who can't get their Steam versions of Rebirth 2 to work is staggering, and Idea Factory compiler doesn't really deal with the problem. So, you know, oh man, keeps me alive. This is the original Hyperdimension Neptunia version of the song. Sounds very different later on, but you know, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, like so like, you know, I feel that Rebirth Mark II and Rebirth 2 are basically the same game but different, because Mark II also has characters such as Gust. Has Gust in it, has Nipponichi, or for us, Nisa, on this, in the English-speaking side, because of the people they were working with back then. It had, and you know, a lot of people today will be like, well, oh, Nisa, isn't she that character in Disgaea? I'm like, yeah, she's literally the mascot character that Idea Factory Compile Heart designed, because they would design a mascot character and give the rights over to the companies they're working with. It's why Gust is, you know, Gust is with Gust, Koei Tecmo, still. It's why Idea Factory owns the rights and likenesses to IF, and Compile Heart obviously owns the rights and likenesses to Compa. But yeah, no, like if 5PV wanted to, like they could use that. Nitro Plus, I believe, has the rights to Nitro Plus. Mages obviously owns Mages, etc. So it's actually kind of cool that, like, in the creation of these characters, that are like, hey, we're gonna add these as story elements, but you guys can own the rights and likenesses to the character, but we'll have rights to use it for the game that we introduce them in. Like, that's how Red came about. So if you're wondering who a lot of these, like, and that's something that I think they've gone away from since, because obviously you don't have that many introductions of newer characters like that. Because I think, especially like once things went sour with like NIS, Nippon Ichi Software, and Gust's parent company was like, well, we can't, you know, we're gonna take out Gust because we own the likeness of her, because we're no longer working with you guys. I think that's when Idea Factory Compile kind of realized that they need to basically get permission to permanently use the likenesses of some of these characters, so they can bring them back for newer games. Because NIS came back, was in, like, I think the original trilogy only, and Gust was also original trilogy only. And later games, Gust is replaced with Broccoli, which, if you guys don't know Broccoli, they're a big company. They also own one of the major chains of anime stores, of anime goods merchandise stores worldwide. They obviously own, I think their names like Broccoli Co. Ltd, but you know, the reason why Neptune constantly calls Broccoli Puchiko is because Broccoli is literally almost like in terms of like character design, like line by line looks exactly like Puchiko from the GG Karat mascot series about Dejiko. She looks just like Puchiko, and that's why Neptune calls her that. So yeah, I think like that's like one of the dangers that the original 3 went through, and that's why there was that's why they made remakes of all 3 games and not just the first one, was because they no longer had the rights to some of the characters. And you know, you're gonna release Neptunia V2, where you may have appearances of old characters that were in the other games. You can't just you can't justify not talking about a character unless you retcon them now in a remake or something. So I think like the Rebirth series was meant to do something similar to that. Was a combination of, and this is my conspiracy theory, okay? This is conspiracy theory on my end, but that's my conspiracy theory is because they had problems with their partnerships with some of the companies after the first 3 games, which were done like, you know, in like rapid succession, 2010 through 2012. They took a step back and went, all right, let's see what we can do in terms of re-licensing all the rights and stuff correctly, so that we can actually use these, because now they're making characters to fit the roles and stuff they need in the game, more so than they are doing parodies of the various game developers that they're working with. So so I think that's why Rebirth 1, 2, and 3 were made. Rebirth 2 and 3 especially were made. I think Rebirth 1 was made because there was such a high... After 3 years of the game being... 3 years of the game being out, there was a demand for a remake of the first game with better mechanics and stuff. But I think Idea Factory Compile Heart really were saying we have to do something, because if you want to make a sequel to Victory, we need to do something about some of the characters that will mysteriously not be talked about ever again. And so what a better way to do that than by remaking the games. The fact that Rebirth 1 came out so well, though, I think, is also a testament to the fact that Rebirth 2, and by extension Rebirth 3, are so weak. First of all, Neptunia Victory on the PS3 and Rebirth 3 on the PS Vita and other systems, consoles, they're basically the same game. Like I feel like it's a big ripoff for people who bought Victory and then bought Rebirth 3. And yes, I am one of them, but I'm saying I too got ripped off. Because it's basically this game, and the entirety is almost the same game all over again, from start to finish. You know? So, I'm gonna put it out there. I don't think Rebirth 3 should have been a thing. You should have had a cheaper port than just called it Neptunia Victory, re-released on the on the other systems. Just ported the game over. If licensing and rights were an issue, like, that's the only reason I could see the reason why they would rename it Rebirth 3, which there were, and I get that. But I'm still saying that, you know, you guys just poured the game over and, you know, you would have the same results. But I understand that because of licensing they would not have been able to, so they have to quote unquote remake it. I still don't like it. I know that there's probably legal stuff involved, and that's the real reason why a lot of it happened. I still don't like it. It's not like all these companies are on bad terms with one another. Like if they could have like asked for an exception in terms of releasing the port, like, or releasing a port or an updated version, I bet, like, you know, that's something they could have done. Like, I feel Rebirth 3 waste of time, waste of money, and there's not enough new content in Rebirth 3 to justify it calling it a rebirth of the original Victory game that came out 2 years prior to it. Oh, that's also another thing, like, yeah, 2 years prior to it. That's also another thing, like, it's like, at least between Neptunia and Rebirth 1, there's 3 years between it. But, you know, when you're only 2 years apart, and you had all these releases of the game, of Neptunia games, in that small frame of time, like, they're milking money out of this thing. They don't have to milk that fast. Like, take a breather, you know, take a breather, like, let people, let people, like, beat Rebirth 2 Sisters Generation. You release the goddamn games in the same year, Compile Heart. Like, why? Why would you do that? You released both games in 2014, why? You know? And to be fair, 2014 has Rebirth 2 and 3. Personally didn't like them as much as the originals. And it had, like, two of the worst spin-offs. It had Neptunia U Action Unleashed, and it had Hyper Devotion Noir, Goddess Blackheart. Which, just if you guys don't know, Neptunia U Action Unleashed is called that because it's more action RPG-esque, and Hyper Devotion Noir, Goddess Blackheart is actually a strategy RPG with the grid system and everything. So it has, like, super chibi art that some people were turned off from, which is kind of funny. Like, everything's looks cute, nice and cute in the Neptunia franchise. Super chibi art, some people can criticize super chibi art, which I get. Like, you know, I would have preferred full sprites on the for an SRPG. Realistically, they probably could have managed to do it that way too, but excuse me. You know, it was made for the PS Vita at the time, and I guess they thought that the smaller PS Vita screen having like full detail art would be wasted on it. I would have still tried, you know what I'm saying. Let's talk and Rebirth 2. Basically, the reason why I don't like Rebirth 2 are very simple. One, because they had to replace the characters they no longer had a license into. They replaced them with characters that we already know and are familiar with. Or, in the case of Red, they replaced it with a far superior character than Nisa, but that's not saying much. Because I thought Nisa's like whole sense of justice thing was like hilarious. Like she did very good she was very good at what she does. And you know, she's still memeing in the Disgaea franchises of games now to this day. So you know, she obviously is doing something right. In the case of Gus being replaced by Broccoli, Broccoli's too sarcastic. Like Gus wasn't like a feels good to have you in your party. You're like a beginner learning to be an alchemist. You're parodying an entire franchise of games, the Atelier games made by Gus Koei Tecmo. Yeah, that's that was cool. Like I thought that was very interesting, and like that's the entire thing. Like when they put in a game maker like Gust or Nisa or Mages, like it's a parody of the games that company made, which is why like Gust being an alchemist or an alchemist in training, it's such a good nod to like the games that Gus makes. Broccoli isn't a game maker. Did you guys? Broccoli's not a game maker. So that's why it's literally just Puchiko from Gigi Karate. Kind of annoys me. To this day. Like, you know, we make a lot of Broccoli New jokes here. Broccoli New jokes here, right? But something that bothers me about the Neptunia franchise, and it's not, you know what, I can't really blame anyone, because working with Koei Tecmo can be hard. They're big boys. They're big boys with big boy money, you know. And sometimes, if they say no, it's done. You can't use Gus. But, something that annoys me is the best they could do for a Gus replacement was Broccoli, essentially. That annoys me. That annoys me. Like, there are so many people they could have tried approaching. And they didn't. They didn't. And obviously, in the case of, like, Hyper Dimension Noir, if you guys don't know, Hyper Dimension Noir has a huge cast of characters. Like, a huge cast of playable characters. I think more so than any other Neptunia game. And that includes, like, V2 plus DLC. So, yeah, I think that's a true statement still. Hyper Dimension Noir has a ton of playable characters that parody, and then here's the thing, because of those early licensing issues, they now did something called they parody the companies. So, like for example, Win, W-Y-N, I believe is the name, or Winning, I guess, is a parody of the Winning 11 or Pro Evolution Soccer games. And so she has a soccer ball on her head. One of the characters is a parody of, like, the Dragon Quest series, is a parody of the Agorist War series, etc. And they to design the characters, they gave it that good old razzle-dazzle of Compile Heart, Idea Factory can do, by parodying it. You see better examples of them going, well, we can't just do that, so we're going to have to, like, make our own. In terms of the 4 Shahs in V2/V2R, which are parodies of famous makers. B Shah is famous Bandai Namco. K Shah is Konami. C Shah is Capcom. And E Shah/S Shah is Square Enix. they are not, but like these are characters where like their attacks and stuff are nods to the franchises they come from, but they're characters now. These are now, because like the Neptunia franchise like builds on the fact that they parody stuff. Yo, Ultra Toa. Yo, I can 100% understand your pains there when you buy Neptunia Victory on the PS3 by getting the PS4 next month. Victory is still a good game though on the PS3. Like, not the best in terms of like story and characters and stuff, but definitely, you know, it was a good game overall. I mean, I enjoyed it. I think it has the best version of Noir. Victory / Rebirth 3 has the best version of Noir. People will like hate me for it. Don't at me. I think it's the new way of, yo, don't flame, no flame wars, right? But yeah, like yeah. So like the Neptunia franchise essentially is getting, and you see it in V2, a lot. You saw it in V2. Is I think they got to the point where they realized we can't really do much by just parodying everything. We don't know where the game should go from there. That's why I think V2 has a lot better storytelling. It has these characters that are obviously nods to like technology, real world, and companies, real world, but taking a step away from these are now just memes, but these are now characters. All these characters have personalities, be more or less kind of fleshed out. So now these are characters with their own motivations, their own lores, their own histories. We have people like myself who argue the ends of the earth on what lore is what. And so V2, I think, was a very good entry into that. Into being like, hey, we make games like, we might be making the Neptunia franchise, but us as Compiler Idea Factory, we also make games where, you know, we can drive home a point. Like, drive home a point, drive home a story. And I think V2 did a very good job of it. The normal ending was very bittersweet because of that. Like it was pretty bittersweet because of that. Like you have this ending where Uzume passes on and leaves her will, you know, basically leaves her will to Neptune and Nepgear, and I think that's a great thing. Like that's just the way they did is really good. And I ran out of Hyperdimension Neptunia music, so now you're gonna have this on loop for the rest of the. You have this on for the rest of the live stream now. Let's see, repeat forever. There you go. Neptunia, the Depth Station theme repeated forever. So yeah, like V2 is like, in my opinion, is probably the best, and not V2R specifically, but V2 specifically is the best version, is the best example of, and probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Neptunia franchise game, because of the fact that it has a lot of character drive and motivation. It has 3 different endings. It has a bad ending, a normal ending, and a true ending, which is like the best ending. I would say best or the happiest ending. So yeah, it has 3 endings, which were taken out in V2R. You know, it has these characters that are references now in terms of some of the actions they do, some of the moves sets and skill sets they have. They're references or obvious nods to, in the case of the Shahs, various big name game companies, without feeling like they're just put in because, like, for a meme. They actually feel like they're fully fleshed out. Well, I'm not saying that like Nisa or Gus weren't fully fleshed out from the original trilogy. I'm saying that Gus, the way to introduce her, was an excellent way. Like, they basically gave her a full backstory that Koei Tecmo Gus still uses to this day. for whenever they put Gus into a game. Like, she's an alchemist from some far-off land, or alchemist in training from some far-off land, like in all her character descriptions and stuff when she shows up in other Gus games. Like, and like that's a great idea. Like, that was just a great idea to do. Nisa being like a hero of justice, like, you know, she's now, and she hasn't really changed. Like, you got introduced to her main storyline wise, I think, in Mark II, and she was DLC in the original Hyperdimension Neptunia. But Mark II, and then, like, you know, basically Nipponichi Software uses her for that same meme-like process, where she's always fighting to be some sort of hero of justice with a flat chest. So, you know, to each their own. But in the case of like Uzume, and the Shahs, like, you know, like, they base Uzume off the Dreamcast. If you guys couldn't tell, she has a freaking Dreamcast logo on her. But yeah, they based her off the Dreamcast. You know, if you guys couldn't tell what the console was, so basically the equivalent of it's basically the Dreamcast in there. Probably say, hey Sega, can we use the Dreamcast likeness in our game? And Sega's probably like, yeah, hell yeah. So, let's be honest, that's probably what happened actually. Yeah, like Uzume, but Uzume is like a fully fleshed out character. She has her own drives, her own motivations. She has a full backstory that you get to explore later on. It's kind of weird because like a lot of the quote-unquote personality of the CPUs, and I think it's best shown in V2R as well, in terms of their like daydreams after they're captured. They fleshed out Neptune because Neptune was completely original. I ran out of ideas. No, actually, I'm the only one here today, and I have a very precarious sound set up, which is why I'm doing a podcast. Like, as I said at the very beginning of the live stream, this is the first and probably will be the last, depending on feedback. But like, going back to what I was talking about, if you look at the daydream sequences, like Neptune is the only one that's like, yo, how's it going on, Mike? You know, Neptune is the only one that, like, you know, she has like a normal daydream where she's interacting with the people of Planetune normally. Everyone has smiles on their faces, and like, you know, even Neptune comments when she sees that. She's like, you know, Neptune tries to be a mood maker. She wants everyone to be smiling at all times if possible. So, you know, I think, and that really shows. I think Idea Factory Compiler had put a lot of emphasis in growing that character from the first, even in the first game. Like, you know, they knock her out, give her amnesia, make her grow as a human, as a CPU, or basically make her grow as a character. And I think they did a very good job of it, and it shows. Oh yeah, Alpha, going to the other ones, like Vert's one is like freaking like, oh yeah, here's Vert and my little sister Vert and my other little sister Vert, and you're like, what? So there's a Vert lolly and a Vert and a Vert jailbait, and then real Vert. Like, what the hell? Like, Noir's is like, just like, I'm just a bitch who wants to let go of my duties and do my own thing. Ha ha ha. I want to be super popular with a lot of friends. I don't fucking care about my country. Like, really? Really? Noir, the one that works hardest for Last Station. That's her daydream? That's her daydream? Like, bullshit. Like, I'm talking about the, I'm like going on a large tangent about the fact that the Neptunia franchise started with basically a bunch of these characters made to be like memes and tropes, but Idea Factory Combat Heart, once, you know, dealing with like legal problems, which is why they probably had to release a Rebirth 1, 2, and 3 to kind of like redo the copyrights and stuff for some of the characters they used in the games, and which is why, you know, there's different characters in the original trilogy on the PS3, and going from the fact that they also realized that if they wanted to make more games out of it, they had to like start making characters again, and not just adding characters in because, oh, they're this game company and whatnot, but rather actually making characters that are developed and fleshed out. I was talking about the fact that, and it shows in V2 specifically, which characters they've definitely fleshed out and which characters they're like, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Because like Uzume Tennomo, she's a great character in that one. Like, you know, she's obviously based off of some design choices and attacks off the Dreamcast, but she feels like a full developed character. Whereas I feel that they treat Noir, Blonde, and Vert like shit, basically, is what I'm getting down to. Is what this is gonna eventually get to. Because I'm talking about like during their daydream sequences in the Heart Dimension, the third portion of V2, which you know, like Neptune's was the one that feels fully fleshed out. Like, she's this character who wants everyone to have smiles on their faces. She acts like a total goofball because she wants to, you know, draw a laugh out of other people to kind of lower the tension between them too. Yeah. I'm like, I agree with that. They basically made Uzume best girl and waifu material because of that alone. Because she has, and she feels so, like, she has so many strong moments in that game, in V2. You know, it's so true. Like, she has so many good moments in it. Like, that last scene after the, in, like, Zero Dimension, that last scene after you defeat the giant goddess, in Zero Dimension, and Neptune and Nepgear leave. You have the moment where she's, like, you know, she's beaten up, exhausted, laying down for the first time with, Umio. And she's like, yep, there's a lot of work we still have to do, and, like, it's just such a good moment. Like, there's so many good moments like that. The one where they have that first outdoor bath together. All waifus are trash code. Fair. Code. You know me. I'm like I'm the red of our group. All wifeys. All wifeys are precious. It must be. All wifeys, even the trash ones, are precious. It must be and our wifey material is my goal, my go-to. But yeah, like, they developed Uzume as a character more than they did as, like, just a trope or a meme. And I'm saying even the Shahs are all developed as characters with themes on their attacks and stuff, and, like, designs based off of the companies they represent. And I'm saying, like, you know, yep. And I say, you know, that's what it is. Like, I said that, I'm saying that that it shows that Neptune is a character they made from scratch and they developed and they grew because Neptune's daydream in the Heart Dimension of V2R. You know, I'm saying the same things over because, like, people are just walked in and went, "What are you talking about?" You can't, doesn't mean you can't like your trash. I don't know. I usually throw my trash out on garbage day. I guess, but if you're a trash human being, I won't throw you out on garbage day. Don't worry. That's true for me, whether it's real life or not. Yeah, but yeah, I'm saying, like, I'm just saying, like, all like that, you know, like, basically, Compound Heart and Idea Factory don't really know what they're doing with Blonde, Noir, and Vert in comparison to Neptune. Neptune, they had some clear goals. They set her up. Even Nepgear. And you know what? I think Uni, Ram, and Rom have more character development than their older sisters do. There you go. Because, like Uni and Nepgear have this budding friend, this kind of, like, begrudging, we're both CPU canons in Mark II Rebirth 2, that develop into a full-blown friendship, where Nepgear, like, makes fun of the fact that Uni acts soon, and Uni recognizes that she's a tsundere. Like, she 100% knows she is. Like, she got it from her older sister. Like, she's like, I'm sorry, that's just the kind of person she is, because literally, no, she lives with one, and so she kind of can't help but act like the older sister she looks up to. And, like, I feel that, I feel really bad that, like, and then Uni has a ton of character development over this, and then Uni's always very, like, she's very protective of Ram and Rom as well as Nepgear, but she's also very, like, upfront about pointing out to Nepgear when she's overly worrying about something or so. She's grounding Nepgear back, because Nepgear is like a big warrior But when she gets serious, she's also a really strong character, or can be. And Uni's there to reaffirm that for Nepgear, because they're besties. And Ram and Rom even like, you're introduced, like, wow, I can't tell Twin Lolly A from Twin Lolly B when you first meet them, except from their tone of voice. To by the time like V2R is happening, Ram and Rom don't even hang out with each other all the time anymore. Ram does her own things, Rom does her own things. Rom finds ways to subtly get more attention with Blonde so they can read together more and stuff. Oh, Rom's smart. That's why Rom's gonna rule Loey one day, guys. And Ram, like, she plays her pranks, but she remains very active inside and outside the Basilicom. Is implied with her things. That means they have like essentially more character development than Noir, Vert, and Blonde do canonically today. And here's the reason why I say that. Alright? Here's the reason why. Now we're getting to this point. Basically, Neptune's character growth is, as well as Noir, Vert, and Blonde's character growth in Rebirth 1 / in Hyperdimension Neptunia are all retconned in Mark 2 / Rebirth 2. Okay? You're assuming that all these characters grew at this point, right? Assuming, quote unquote, all these characters grew, and that's why they act the way they do, right? Except, here's the big problem with that. Yes, exactly, Code. You're right. Noir, Vert, and Blonde have no character development. Noir has a ton of character development, actually. Oh, let me read that. In the first game, that is never touched upon ever again. It's implied that it must have happened because she's friends with all these girls. But at least in the anime, she acts friendly with a lot of them, because you have a lot of like slice of life screen time, whereas in the games you really don't, because all you're doing is dungeon crawling and beating up stuff, advancing the story. But yeah, so like that's the thing. That's why like Noir's like stupid daydream, some ridiculous bullshit of her wanting to skirt her duties, put it all in Uni, and become a successful idol singer, whatever bullshit, and she has tons of friends. Like what the, like let's put it this way. Noir, also same girl who works harder than anyone else to make sure that Last Station reigns on top at all times, is the one that's gonna be, yeah, she's the one that completely hates her duties, wants to skirt them, doesn't want to do them anymore. Bullshit. Vert, and this is why I like the Conquest ending, and they don't touch on the fact that Vert, and this is why I also dislike Vert in Victory / Rebirth 3. Is Vert in the Conquest ending route is shown to be the strongest of the CPUs, because she, and this is something that the games don't touch on anymore at all, she is so used to not having a little CPU or a CPU candidate or little sister to support her, that she single-handedly fights the main character's party to a standstill in that route by herself. No one talks about this. In game, Vert does have some of the best stats in game, but they completely gloss over the fact that Vert is a strong, independent woman who needs no little sister. She wants, and like her daydream like fails to, like they write it off as, oh, she probably dreamed, like, but Vert really needs that character development that shows she is someone who actually is very lonely. And that's why she games a lot with people online. That's why she's very accepting and accommodating for guests and people who come to visit her. Like the fact that she is alone. Like she runs that nation. She does everything. Like we joke about the fact, oh, her Oracle, Chiko Hakuzaki, does it. No, Vert actually runs her nation like amazingly efficiently. You know, like, you know, we joke about the fact, oh yeah, she's a shut-in that doesn't do anything. But remember, no one ever talks about the fact that Vert holds a ton of like public functions and stuff where she shows up to them in person every single time. No one will ever be like, oh, I don't recognize that blonde girl wearing the green outfit, because Vert shows up as Vert and as CPU Greenheart to her people. They know her as both. Vert is best solo player. So like, you know, like, and the games don't talk about this. They give you all the hints, but they never then officially like talk about it. They don't give you a scene where Vert's being that character, being herself as that character. Like, the games just gloss over it all. And they put a very good example of her strength into a non-canon ending, unfortunately, called the Conquest ending, where you see her at doing what she does best. Also, the fact that Chica never shows up takes away from the fact that Vert does treat Chica like a little sister because she doesn't have one. So, yeah, there goes all of Vert's character development in Mark II Rebirth 2 gone. You literally took out Chica, never show her again, don't show Vert doting on her only little sister-like character, and instead becoming a creeper that wants a Nepture in her pocket. Okay. Sure, that's also a part of her character. In the case of Blonde, like, I think Ultra Dimension kind of tried and failed, but Ultra Dimension I think failed in a lot of aspects of what it was trying to do. Not Ultra Dimension. Well, it's in Ultra. I mean, Victory / Rebirth 3. But Blonde, she's the first CPU. Well, the first of their generation of CPUs, in theory. I think. I'm not sure. I think she's supposed. No, wait, no, she isn't. I recant that statement. I actually am talking on my ass there. Please disregard. I'm thinking Ultra Dimension specifically. But Blonde is. You know what? And because I have to recant that specifically, yo, real talk, games do not give enough love to Blonde either. Like, she has no character development at all. Yo, Vert would be a great big sister. Although I can see the fact that she would totally get me, like, gaming 24/7 though. But, yo, Blonde gets no character development throughout the entirety of, throughout the entirety of Mark II Rebirth 2, more or less, throughout V2R. Like, all the spin-offs, the spin-offs with Blonde were really strange. Yeah, she was the oldest in, Ultra Dimension, yes. Yeah, that's why I had to take that away. Blonde is the Blonde. They basically retcon Blonde's personality into being like a little girl, kind of forced to be in that role in Ultra Dimension in Victory Rebirth 2, in Rebirth 3. I mean, and that's why like Blonde's daydream in V2 is just she wants big breasts so she can lord them over Vert. Really? The fuck? Come on, Idea Factory Compound. You guys literally have so much you can have done. Yo, make the Blonde origin story game that you know people want. Don't make Mega Tag Mention again. Get that Blonde origin story game. You know, if Blonde... You know what? You know what? Screw it. Why don't you make it canon that Blonde is the first of those 4 to become CPU? And make that origin story game where Blonde watches the others come into power and shares game industry with them. Make it happen. She needs character development. She has none. She barely had any in the first game. She barely had any in Rebirth 1 as well. She barely, and like her any development in Rebirth 3 / Victory is not canon because that was Ultra Dimension Blonde. Come on, games. And this is this is why. This is why. This is what it is. Like basically they made this game to be kind of like a one-shot meme, Hyperdimension Neptunia, and it blew up and became something else, like a game that like now I spent an hour and a half or so, 80 minutes now talking about. Like, there's so much that they could be doing with the characters, and especially after seeing how they treat like Uzume, even with like the very like stereotyped storyline between Isha and Escha on that route. Like they Idea Factory Combat Heart are basically making games where they're giving the characters a chance to grow in them. So I think it's about time that if they make more spin-off games, they focus on that. The idea of letting the main characters that they've already established, giving them the chance to grow or develop, or showing they're growing and developing, so we can be like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that'd be great too. A previous CPU's game where they review, like, we have official art for like Ernest, for and for whoever came before the others. That'd be also really good too. I would. Yo, I want to see Blonde as a candidate. That would be hilarious. The Blonde as a candidate spin-off game. That's what we need. The spin-off game where Blonde is a CPU candidate and becomes CPU by the end of it. Even though that's not how candidates work. You know what? Also, you know what? Yo, screw lore consistency. I'm not even talking about the fact that lore consistency is a thing. Because, let's be honest, remember, CPUs are the embodiment of the hopes and dreams of the people they're ruling. And yet, they're CPU candidates. Then what are they? Did a bunch of people lowly go, not lolly enough, and I like twins, so we're gonna have twin CPU candidates. Like, that'd be really silly. Seeing a fan art of CPU candidate Noir? That would be interesting. Like I have like my own ideas of how they might have gone to that point, but the majority of my ideas, because I'm a Conquest ending fan, rely on a ton of tragedy to make it so that Noir's already tsundere and Blonde's the way she is, and you know, the lean box may not even be a thing. Like, what if Vert's technically the oldest because Leanbox was formed with the Xbox, and since the Xbox is older than the PS3, the Wii, and did it come out around when the Dreamcast came out? Or I think it was just after. Either way, that'd be funny if actually it turned out Vert was the oldest, and that's of the current CPUs in Hyperdimension, because of the fact that, you know, especially if she represented the all the way back to the original Xbox. Oh man, there's so much to talk about the Neptunia franchise. This is fun. Oh yeah, and you know, like, I've been interacting with chat, so if you guys have any questions or want to ask me anything, yo, feel free to. Came out a few years before the Xbox, alright. Yeah. Because I know, like, I know that, like, it's Dreamcast, that it's some system that doesn't exist, which is Uranus, to represent Neptune's predecessor, and then it's Neptune, because she was the scrapped Project Neptune project. She represents a scrapped, like, Project Neptune, which was a console Sega would have released to compete against the other consoles of the time. But the Dreamcast essentially was where Sega's console wars died. Hence why in V2 she doesn't exist anymore. Or she didn't exist for a while. Salute Red, Creechy. What are you talking about? It's a perfectly normal picture of Red, drawn by Sunako, the artist of the Neptunia franchise. I don't see anything wrong with it. Not at all. So yeah, I'm basically ranting a lot about the fact that the characters don't have enough character development. And I think V2 did a great job of doing that because of that. And that's why I don't like... you know what? Let's go back to why I don't like V2R then, in comparison. One, very simple thing. Red is not cancerous. Psh. Let's talk about real talk. V2R. Okay, how is V2R like a newer game that takes out features? Thirsty for waifus all the time, man. Oh yeah. It'd be nice to have a game with the Chaos CPUs. That would be really helpful. Yo, so okay, V2R, they took out the bad ending. They kind of added the normal ending as a joke, and like, just kidding, there's more gameplay. Like, when I played V2, okay, and I platinum V2, you know, there was 3 endings. Give us 3 endings. Let us get alternate endings. Or, you know what? Like, if the... What? No, they didn't. They didn't, All Mike. We want a game that has the Chaos CPUs. An actual game that has the Chaos CPUs. That'd be really nice. Yo... Yeah, no, All Might. They did one worse. There's no multiple endings in V2R. There's no multiple endings. However, with that said, though, one thing that they do have is a lot more voice-acted scenes, in V2R. Like, since they basically have to have Noir's VA like redub over all of the original dialogue. Because it's not Aaron Fitzgerald's the new VA, English VA. Like, they reread all of that. I think in terms of the Japanese, there were some scenes that they forgot to dub over, and they dubbed over that in Japanese. But yeah, basically, there's only one ending in V2R, and there's, you know, and it bothers me. I think if they had, like, I thought that, you know, the virtual reality aspects of it, especially the fact that you get some, you get mandatory VR scenes with like Adult Neptune, you know, like you have these mandatory VR scenes which you don't have to watch in VR. Pumpkin, I'm doing a quote unquote a podcast like. Oh my, yeah, the bad ending is kind of bad. It's just implied really bad. I'm not, obviously there's not that many details, but so yeah, I'm gonna say that, yeah, and the normal ending's pretty good too, because Uzume like sacrificed herself, and then her Neptune and Nepgear go clickbait on the left. Yeah, that's literally what it says. It says clickbait. By the way, it's also a live stream, so I am live. That's actually me live. So there you go. A little messing with the lighting just to prove that I'm still alive and well. I'm just very good at sitting still, guys. Okay. Yeah, like the V2R has all these mandatory scenes with Adult Neptune in it. Also, they debate you by going into the normal ending first, and then going, no, never mind, we're going into true ending now. Which, realistically, I thought would have been better if they made all the... Like, if the game was more aware... if the game was more aware... And they could have totally done this, because, this is Neptunia. This ain't... know, that's not like, you know, storyline consistency is a thing, or not breaking the fourth wall is a thing, right? Well, I'm talking about the Neptunia franchise of games today specifically, Punking, so I'll just address that now real quick. I think that the Konosuba dub was a very good attempt at dubbing Konosuba, but I prefer the Japanese dub more because I feel that not everybody captured the essences of what made Konosuba great in the English dub. So that's where I'll leave that thought for now. Why aren't there any Nep games set in Space Creature? That's a good question. You should ask Idea Factory compiler, because I don't know. I think that they could totally do some sort of space kind of spin-off game if they wanted to. What if Histoire erased the memory of the previous CPU when Vert, Neptune Noir, and Blonde were still candidates alpha? I know for a fact that didn't happen. One, because Neptune still remembers Uranus. But that'd be an interesting fan theory to go on, because of the fact that we're taught constantly that all the new CPUs are quote unquote born, like, or just come into existence because the nations needed a CPU at the time. But that doesn't explain why their CPU candidates exist. Very true. Alright. So, yeah, V2R complaints. The reason why I think V2 is a better game than V2R still. One, V2 had different endings. And you might go, well, why is that a complaint? Because there's a bad ending that literally made one of the people watching you cry. I'm like, okay. Just because the ending makes you... It's a bad ending, one. Like, if it makes somebody cry, I can understand. Two, a normal ending had some great character development for Neptune and Nepgear, ever so slightly. You know, Neptune's a little bit more serious, for once. Can't wait for the new Star Trek movie. I'll probably watch it as well. I don't know much about Star Trek, but I've watched a few of the Star Trek movies and some of the show, so enough to enjoy it. V2R has these forced mandatory virtual reality sessions with adult Neptune, or Ultra Dimension Neptune, however you want to call her. And it frustrates me because they have these scenes, and like, and you know what's even better? Like, these scenes seem like they're talking, you know, it's like adult Neptune's talking about the things that are going on during the game. So at first I was like, oh, you know, maybe this is like kind of like a story thing, like where it's like, oh yeah, we're CPUs and we're kind of like crossing over to the real world, so we're interacting with you, player kun, and doing the thing. This feels weird, Punking. Well, it's okay because you don't have any PS systems. Some of the games are on Steam, first of all, so if you ever want to play, you could get a Steam version. And, you know, we'll even say they have frequent sales, so get them when they're on sale, when you find it's affordable. Yeah, they call you, like, the player, I think, because, you know, they can't just put your name in. You know, this ain't no Fallout 4. Is it Fallout 4? Where, like, you can put, like, every name but, like, Kyle? Where people make fun of it and they're like, we record 786,000 names, and they're like, oh, never mind. Never mind, you did okay on that one. But yeah, like, so like they have all these scenes with adult Neptune, and then basically like you beat the game, you get a debated ending, and then you go into doing the true ending route from the original game anyway. There's no extra. It's just forced. They could just more coding. Oh, it's true. Alright. So like, you know, I thought it'd be really cool because this, you know, this is Neptunia. And it's V2R, and they said, you know, like they said the virtual reality would be something really cool and a part of the gameplay. I thought it'd be really cool if, I don't know, they had a virtual reality section, or they had a virtual reality thing where it's like, hey, let's give you something where you can do stuff in this virtual reality section. Because you have like button prompts and stuff where you can zoom in on some of the things. What if they give you a section where they're like, she goes like, and this is how the game ended. But that was just our memories. Now you as the player, see if you know, what if we try to save Uzume? That way, like through virtual reality. Like, I thought that would be really cool if they had some sort of tie-in or like that. No, it's just the fucking scenes. Extra bullshit that I didn't need. So, only if I could stream to the real world. Oh my. A lot of people that I interact with here. So like, you know, I felt that the V2R, like the other remake games other than Rebirth 1, was a big pile of wasted potential. And unlike the other ones where licensing was an issue, so they had to redo characters and stuff, you know, is what I'm gonna assume might have happened. V2R, they had no... Okay, and they didn't even add the downloadable characters into the main story. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, Car? Like, literally, they're like, we're gonna put some VR scenes so people buy it to pay for some VR scenes. I think Idea Factory Compound Heart are still stuck on the fact that they're trying to sell Neptunia with fan service and not with story, not with character development. They don't change the music anymore. Everyone knows their music's great in it, so they don't really change the music anymore. They made a few new tracks that stand out in V2 and are in V2R as well. They did some new music in it, so they know that the music is good. Why couldn't you do some story stuff? Rei is older than Uzume, so Rei would just be like, I'm your unqualified senpai. Unless it was Rei going batshit insane when she goes, you're garbage, because she thinks everything should be destroyed. Or bow down to Rei. I don't remember what her shtick was. I just remember she was very apologetic afterwards. So I feel like the Neptunia franchise is a great franchise because it has all these things that make the games good and stuff. And at the same time, I feel like it's a very frustrating to be in franchise because I feel like there's a ton of wasted potential that that could be addressed, that they can make it a better version. So, you know, it's annoying. It is quite annoying to see like V2R be a thing. Cause like V2 was great. Like V2, they story was great. The characters were great. They like lowered the party pool and the characters that you interact with, just so they could up like the appeal of the characters they had in it. They treated Vert, Noir, and Blonde like shit through most of it, as always. But they at least so even though I say that, they at least gave separate sections to all four of those CPUs during the Gold Third arc. So that's a good thing, right? Like, you know, they actually did bring back some of the appeal of that in the regards, because you got to play it through a section as Noir, where Noir was being very Noir. And here's the thing, like, her daydream makes no sense, considering, like, right before you're playing the Noir section, she's, like, worried about people, making sure no one gets hurt, making sure that, you know, she takes their business, because even if she's not in power, it's her nation, it's the nation she lives in. And then you have her freaking daydreams like, la 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 la, I have a lot of friends, I don't care about doing this shit. Like, what? Like, okay, Vert was just bad, like, it was just, everything made no sense. Nepgear showed up. Vert for fondle Nepgear's breast, I guess. Adult Neptune fondled Vert's breast. Yeah, like, yeah, the like Vert section makes no sense. Blonde just made a friend. I would say that's basically a Blonde section in a nutshell. Blonde made a new friend. That's all that Blonde section is about. Blonde made a new friend. Okay. Vert the Degenerate just degenerates more. And I feel bad because Vert's also one of the strongest CPUs. Maybe her delusions are so powerful that she's undefeatable because of that. Vert the Degenerate. Oh man. Yeah, so I feel like V2R was like tons of steps back from what made V2 great. And I think that when they make a new main console and a main canon entry for Neptunia, I want to see them do what they did in V2. And I know it's probably gonna take time. The next game we'll probably see of it will probably be like 2020. I'm gonna say. We're all degenerates here. I mean, you know, my name is literally anime fan, so yeah, I am. But I hope they actually, you know, they buckle down and they, you know, and they reconsider doing what they did in V2 originally. You know, a higher, heavier focus on the storyline and the character developments, and develop the main characters, please. The Verts, the Blondes, the Noirs. Don't show pieces of Noir showing her as a strong, independent person who earned her title as Last Station's CPU, and then show me some daydream and I'm gonna skirt my duties and fuck all this shit. Because literally, it makes Noir wholly unlikable. And we're trying. I'm trying to like Noir, okay? You know the average stance of the Can team. Basically, everyone hates Noir except Drake, and Meth tolerates her, and I tolerate her because I like the Ultra Dimension version. Because the Ultra Dimension version had personality. She had a friend. Just give Noir a fucking best friend so that she can grow and develop and be a better character already. Gosh darn it. Holy Neps. New enemies are Fortnite creatures? Dude, man. Yo, as much as people make fun of Fortnite, that game is fucking popular. So, shout outs to people who play Fortnite. I don't care if you do or not. I don't, obviously, but I don't care if you do or not. Like, I'm gonna say, like, you know, you guys enjoying your game? Good. Keep enjoying it, man. That's what gaming is. Enjoy yourselves, alright? With that said, you know, I'm running short on, like, voice and energy. You don't like Ultra Noir, how cocky she is? You know, I disagree. I don't think Ultra Dimension Noir is any more cocky or less cocky. And to be fair, actually, you know what? I'll go one step further. I think you're wrong. I don't think Ultra Dimension Noir is that cocky because she doesn't have a little sister that she has to act like she's a king of the world for. She's starting up her nation, and Plutia exists, and as long as Plutia exists, Noir's kind of will always be the lesser of two CPUs under Plutia. So you know, I'm gonna respectfully disagree and say that Ultra Dimension Noir is cocky. Yes, like she always has that very confident attitude aura ish. But I will say she's not any more or less cocky than like other versions of Noir. But she definitely has more details about her past because you know her prior to her becoming a CPU. That make her a more fleshed out character. So you know, Alpha. So I think it's the opposite. I think Plutia babysitters Noir more so because Noir. Otherwise, I have a giant complex about not having friends. Yes, according to V2 and V2R, Noir has a super huge complex about not having friends in the other games. So, you know, without a Plutia to be there to be her friend. So I'd say the opposite. I'd say that Plutia is Noir's babysitter. Alpha Soul. Is there... I'm winding down. Is there any questions about the Neptunia franchise you guys want to ask? In particular, anything at all? Anything? You know what? I don't care what type of questions. You know, once again, this. You know, we're can. We're not. You know, we don't judge. You know, you ask me weird shit. I don't care. But if there's anything you want pressingly answered, drop a comment, drop a comment in the live chat right now so I can answer. If you drop a comment on this video after the fact, thinking I'm gonna come back and answer, you're probably right, but it won't be in a timely fashion. Yeah, Alpha Soul. Like, they were friends together. Why is Neptune so perfect? I think that, one, she isn't, and two, she tries to be she tries to be the best Nep she can be. She Neps hard, and she Neps well because of it. Despite other people thinking she never takes things seriously, she tries to be a good Moonraker, and they think that's why she's a great character. All my, you can ask as many of them as possible. If I can't answer them, then I'll say I can't. But I'll answer questions, as long as it's nothing illegal. Like, and I don't mean like, would you sleep with Raven Ron? I'll answer that question, and the answer is no, because they look like little girls. I don't care how legal they are. But if you ask me, like, where can I illegally download and play Neptunia? I'm like, obviously, I'm not gonna answer that. I'm like, I'm the guy who bought all the games and owned them all. I'm the wrong person to ask. But, as long as it's not, like, asking me to do something completely illegal. I can answer most questions. Neptune has the most drastic change in HDT mode, Alpha. Yes, I agree. I agree. to an extent. I would say that, a physical change is definitely peachy, though. When's the next Nep game coming, All Mike? This month. Not this month. This year. This year. No, I already know that. Super Neptunia RPG is coming out in North America and Europe, I believe in June this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm gonna definitely live stream that game once it comes out as well, probably. Creechy, I actually disagree. Drake has actually stated that he's not really that much. He's not really. He just likes Ram better than Rom, is what it is. It comes down to. Peach is kind of WTF with her story. Yeah, I agree, Alpha Soul. In fact, I think the anime did it slightly better justice with that like rush job of a story, where it's like, yeah, she's a CPU somehow from another dimension, and she wandered here, and we're trying to find her. I think Plutia did an excellent summation of like that, like really quick. I think the anime did a better job of characterizing it. Peachy is a strange entity, I think, overall. It also makes one think, like, if there's such a thing as fate or destiny in the Neptunia franchise, wouldn't that mean that IF and Compa may also have the qualifications to be a CPU in Ultra Dimension? Oh, canon Nep game following the canon story though? I'm not sure. Yeah, that's true. Like, that's a question I don't have. I'm not a game developer, much less I'm not Idea Factory compile art. I'm gonna estimate that we'll have one in like a year though, or so. Year and a half. I'm gonna say 2020. We'll probably have a main console entry release again. Is my guess. Yeah, Alpha, I agree. Like, they definitely like they stunted her growth in many ways. And that's actually only in the games. In the game, in Victory Rebirth 3, because in the anime doesn't set as many rules, so you don't know what happens. You don't know what happened. You just know she was a CPU from another nation. She was relatively young, obviously, and then she went back home. I've earned enough money to own PC by then. Oh, Mike. I hope so. Misclick. Okay. So yeah. So PC is weird. I think Ultra Dimension itself was weird. It had a very strange cast of characters. Like it has the most hated character in my opinion, and a lot of people's shared opinions, of Abnus. Everyone hates Abnus, and she's really annoying. I don't know why she was one of the ones that got into the anime. Like, it makes no fucking sense, actually. Like, she's really annoying. And I don't know. Like, you guys tell me. Is there secretly like a huge Amnes fan club that I don't know about that's gonna be like, oh, we're gonna start making the dislike ratios on this video insane? Like, is there like, cause like as far as I'm concerned, almost everybody who has played and has met Amnes in Victory or in Rebirth 3, they hate her. Like, she's the worst character in the game, hands down. She's the worst character in the franchise, hands down. So, yeah, like, yo, man, yo, Victory / Rebirth 3 was a very strange game with a lot of strange characters. That, like, you know, you don't even think you're like copy paste, like Anonadeth as Mr. Bad. Like, we all talk about the fact that Mr. Bad is a bad guy, and it's like, yeah, his name is Mr. Bad. What did anybody expect from a guy named Mr. Bad, really? But he turns out to be not so bad guy. No, he was a part of some, like, oh yeah, and like, and in those games they have like child experimentation, where they took a bunch of orphans and turned them into the little baby bugs. Eat bad boy. Like, that's a strange game. That's just a strange game. Like, what the hell is happening in Ultra Dimension? It just got like, retro dark and retro weird, more like. Like Rebirth 3 Victory is very strange. It's a very strange entry into the main story, and it's canon. You know, little to nothing happens canonically in Hyper Dimension, but it's a canon game, so why not? Yeah, I mean, like, you know, there's obviously weirder games, but I'm just saying that it's a. It's also true that it's a very strange thing that occurs in that one. So, well, I think that's about it. It looks like you guys have no more real questions for me at this point. So I'm gonna go off and say that you know, this was fun. If you actually like the podcast style of this week, for whatever reason, you know, let us know. You know, let us know some way. And that way, like, you know, we might consider doing it again, and probably doing it with more people. But, you know, this was like kind of like a thing that I did only because we lacked manpower, as in we lacked people to be live streaming today. And then I set one up and realized I couldn't even add people if I wanted to because of my setup. So, oops, that's like the meme says, you get used to it. Love the podcast. Oh, thank you. So anyway, this is Anime Fan RK2K. This has been a Can Team live stream podcast but with only me, about the Neptunia franchise. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys tuning in and listening. I had fun. So if you guys ever want another one, you know what? Leave a comment with what you want it to be about, too. Next week, probably, all Mike, we'll be back to a standard Cards Against Neptunia live stream. I know that you guys like those live streams, and this was, you know, this was the one-time thing because we didn't have anyone to do it. This was fun. Like to do more. Oh, thank you, Alpha. So, anyway, I'll be signing off. See you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and you know, I'll leave you guys one last question for you guys. Who is your favorite Neptunia character? I don't care if you didn't play one. I don't care if you could choose clickbait right here, red, because I had her up for 2 hours. I gave you subliminal messages of woo. But yeah, who's your favorite Neptunia character? Leave it as a comment once this live stream is processed and up. All right. See you guys.